out. Stick to playing basketball, man. Cause you know why? Cause you can't rap.
You can do better.
I can do better.
Let me see you do.
Up in here, up in here. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gonna make me.
We back! Okay, so I hope y'all got your guesses in, and I am very excited to let you know that this movie was like Mike. So I realized as I started doing my Au-Gust Want My Childhood Back that Bow Wow had a big part in my childhood and movies that he was in, because I love like Johnson's Family Vacation. He was in that. I loved Like Mike. There were a few more that he was in as I was going through this, and I was like, oh my goodness. So Like Mike was just amazing. It also had like Brenda Song. Morris Chestnut was in it as well, and it just had NBA basketball players from like the early 2000s were in it. Like, it was just a big part of my life, like this movie, and watching it I could quote the words to this movie too. How I started this video was like my favorite part, like when I was rewatching it and I saw there's this part where Bow Wow's character is playing a video game with this NBA guy, and that always to me, like, that's like registered in my brain because I would see that part and I was like, oh my goodness, my favorite part's coming up soon, and it just got me really excited. One thing that I will honestly say hurt my heart so much, and it actually made me mad, was the orphanage director, or like the leader of the orphanage. Y'all, he was abusive, he was cruel. There was one scene that, I'm not gonna lie, I teared out because I was like, how can you be so cruel? But it was basically where Murph, which is Bow Wow's best friend in the movie, and the only thing he has of his parents is a photo of his mom. And the Bitterman, which is the name of the orphanage leader, he takes that photo and he starts burning it in front of Murph, just so Murph will tell him where Bow Wow's character hid his like magical shoes. And y'all, that hurt my heart. Like, how can you be that cruel to do that to a kid? And it was just like Bitterman the whole movie, like he was just trying to use Bow Wow's character because Bow Wow was making money because he got drafted, which is wild. So he's like 13 in this movie, and he got drafted into the NBA because you know how when you go to an NBA game, they have like people go and try to make baskets. So Bow Wow's character, Calvin, is what he's called in this movie. Calvin ended up getting called, like his seat number got called, so he goes down and he ends up going against Tracy, which is Morris Chestnut's character. And he's able to score against him 3 times. They actually sign up Bow Wow to be on their team as an NBA player at 13, which, you know, would never happen, but it was like the big movie back in the day. And so what Bitterman tells Calvin is he's like, while you're playing, no one can adopt you. And Bow Wow finds out later that he lied to him about that, so he thought he couldn't be adopted while he was living out his dream. And it was just the whole story. Like, Bitterman made me mad. I was like, I was ready to throw hands at Bitterman because he hurt my heart a lot watching this, because it was just the cruelness of it that, you know, as a kid you don't take as much in and you're like, okay, he's just mean. But watching it now, I was like, that, like, so much of what he did was just cruel. And then he also, like, Bitterman also took Calvin's magical shoes, which basically they are shoes that everyone believes that Michael Jordan had them as a kid because they have MJ on like the flap. So they think that they're Michael Jordan shoes from back in the day. When Calvin wears them, he's like amazing. Like, there's a thing where he's 4 foot 8 inches and he can slam dunk, and so he, like, it's just wild. Like, when he wears them, he has all the power in the world to do whatever. And so Bitterman actually takes the shoes and hides them when Calvin's off at a big game because he wants those so he can make a buttload of money. And I'm like, it was just so much stuff that Bitterman was doing. It really broke my heart. And I was like, wow, like, I just feel like I understood it so much more, how messed up his character was as an adult. On a good thing, though, is I absolutely love the relationship between Calvin and Tracy. And you could just see the moment where Calvin really wanted Tracy to be his father and adopt him. And just like watching them grow. And I just loved it so much. One of my favorite scenes, there's so many good scenes in this movie, but one of them is where they are at Tracy's house, Murph and Calvin, and they're learning geometry. And so basically Tracy has taken paint and he's like painting triangles on his house out exterior. And so then Bow Wow takes the brush and he's like, okay, so because basically they're using like NBA positions to help them learn about geometry. And so Bow Wow takes the brush and he's like, okay, so if I'm traveling with the ball, and then he gets to a window and Tracy's like, man, don't you put that paint on my window. And then Bow Wow's like, okay, no, I got you. And then he's like, so then I go all the way, boom, and then he actually hits it on the window and Tracy's like, oh. So it's just the development of the relationship was so good. And there were so many just memories with this movie, and I loved it so much. Like, it definitely had sad aspects because it showed you how the older you get, like kids in like foster homes, the orphanage, they don't get adopted, like because everyone wants the younger kids. And that's actually like a line that the orphanage bully says to Calvin. Because Calvin's like, it's time for me to get adopted. Early in the movie, like he has high hopes. He's like, I'm ready. I'm gonna get adopted. And then the bully is like, yeah, they want the babies. They don't want people who have been here for a minute. And so that was kind of sad. But overall, I think this movie held up. It's still thebomb.com. It had a lot more real subjects that I didn't realize because I'm a kid and I don't go into depth. I haven't really lived life when I was younger. And getting to see it now, I feel like this was kind of a deep movie and it had a lot of like themes in it. And I was feeling the emotions. Like I was so ready to go off on Bitterman. Oh, leave these kids alone. Like he was terrible. So yeah, it was just a very enjoyable movie. And I thought it was cool how they tossed in so many prominent NBA players from like the early 2000s. Like they were all in this too. So overall, I enjoyed this. If you have never seen it, definitely watch it. If you've not seen it recently, go watch it because I think you will enjoy it. Like I enjoyed it. Movie, 2 thumbs up, bomb.com. Okay, see you guys soon.
This has been another episode of Real Talk with Noel.